Thanks to Disney's box office performance in 2025, we are starting to get more rumors surrounding theoretical Pirates of the Caribbean 6. It was quite recently, I think it was in conjunction with their investors call, where it was kind of a throwaway line, but Pirates of the Caribbean 6 is very much in development. We talked about it recently within the past week or two that Jerry Bruckheimer has broached the topic with Johnny Depp about him returning, and he thinks that, hey, if we got a good enough script together, we can go ahead and get Johnny on board on that one. So if all of that stuff ends up lining up, yeah, we could be heading towards a proper Pirates of the Caribbean movie. But we've also heard recently, earlier this year, that there is not one but two Pirates movies in development, and one, well, it's going to be helmed by Bruckheimer and a lot of the old crew, and the other one's going to be made for a modern audience. So, oh boy, we know that Disney is desperate because everything that they've touched this year from their proper Disney brands, their Fox stuff is pretty much carrying the day, and one live action remake. But all of the profit from that ended up getting swallowed up by their Marvel and Snow White shaped disasters. So they are very much looking for a couple of easy W's. And honestly, even though it's the sixth installment, and even if we look at the box office, right, because I got that pulled up, and well, you've got 5 installments, you've got a franchise that is worth or has generated $4.5 billion in revenue. They would be foolish and not to go back to this well. And it's funny, right? I was just recently recommended a short. God, I wish YouTube would just do away with shorts. But even still, it was a little snippet. I'm pretty sure YouTube is listening to me because I never searched for it on the site, but they had Orlando Bloom, Will Turner on The Dutchman, and I think it was his kid or something like that. Like I said, I've seen 4 of the 5 Pirates movies, but I haven't seen Dead Men Tell No Tales yet. But holy shit, man, that one interaction that was promoted to me, that was some of the worst acting I have ever seen. It's interesting, right? Because Orlando Bloom back in the early 2000s, he was that guy. People still, for whatever reason, I don't know how long it's been since he watched it, but Kingdom of Heaven, especially the director's cut, ends up getting a lot of praise, but that's a pretty fundamentally broken movie. He gets a lot of credit for the success of that movie. It has a pretty good reputation. And then also his portrayal as Will Turner in the first 3 Pirates movies, I thought it was pretty good. It's been a while since I've watched Pirates, but I remember not being put off by his performance. And then of course, him as Legolas, that kind of goes without saying. That was all tremendous. But it's interesting because in watching Lord of the Rings as much as I have this year, I've also been watching The Hobbit as well. And Normally when an actor gets more reps, they get more movies under their belt, they end up improving, but he is somebody who is very much, it peaked early and then fell straight off a cliff because, like I said, that Dead Men Tell No Tales clip with him reuniting with his son, that was, the kid was really bad, but it's not like Orlando was that much better. Which is probably why, that and, all the legal trouble with Johnny, that's why that film ended up being the second lowest box office in the franchise. But if we adjust for inflation, Curse of the Black Pearl is obviously, I would think it would be right close to $1 billion at this point in time, and At World's End, a movie that I went to the midnight premiere of, by the way. Same with On Stranger Tides, but I hate On Stranger Tides so very much. But I've been intensely disappointed by this series, but I'm always willing to give it another chance. And 6, if it's announced and it's a proper send-off, and if there is in fact a great story for the return of Jack Sparrow, because if it's going to be a continuation of the story itself, it's not really going to be a return of Jack Sparrow, but at this point in time, Johnny reconciling with Disney in order to make this film, everybody's more aware of the meta than they are for the ongoing pirate story at this point in time. I don't think that is too much to say. But in the recent Pirates coverage that we've done, I've posited a couple of ideas. I think that, hey, Johnny's not getting any younger, and if he wants to, properly set somebody up to continue the franchise, we could go ahead and do that. We could use 6 as that avenue and that bridge to the future. That would be great. Or you could just do a proper, one last final voyage and send him properly off into the sunset. That would all be fantastic. You could go ahead and make that happen. But let's see what Screen Rant has to say about this. Pirates of the Caribbean has a great story to fix. It's a Jack Sparrow issue. There's an issue. Pirates 6, yes, has been a long time coming, and there are still all kinds of questions surrounding the upcoming film, whether it's a proper sequel, who will star in it, including questions about Johnny Depp. and more remain even 8 years after the release of the previous film, Dead Men Tell No Tales, rather. That's not because Disney has been proactive about trying to find ways for a franchise to continue. Originally, 2 separate pirate scripts were in development. One of those was a reboot of the franchise, and the other was a Pirates movie starring Margot Robbie as a new character. It's so funny how some of these shill sites are still trying to make that abysmal idea happen, but how, Margot Robbie also trying to petition for her return as Harley Quinn, who is canonically in James Gunn's DCU, but it's also funny as well because if you factor in all of her continuity, there's a lot of DCEU that ends up being dragged in as a consequence of that. But James, I'm sure, he'll be able to lie his way into making that make sense for his sycophants. But anyways, back to this. However, the franchise has pivoted, yes, with a producer, Jerry Bruckheimer, revealing that the next Pirates will be a new take, but not a complete reboot. It will combine new and old characters, making it seem more like a legacy sequel. Well, yeah, because that's another thing, right? Because Disney is very, very desperate. They're very good at milking nostalgia. And you look at all of the desecrated corpses of franchises that have gone by that they have plundered, and well, Pirates is about the last supple corpse that they can drain any kind of bodily fluids out of. Which is why, going back to Orlando Bloom on this one, he was, asked a question at a con recently about, the upcoming Pirates 6, which everybody anticipates is coming. It's just there's nothing really concrete quite yet. But Orlando Bloom, on the next Pirates of the Caribbean, do you bring in a female lead that replicates Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow? Yeah, I don't know. That's the headline that they want to run with, but he, unlike Screen Rant, actually has a good idea for what to do with the upcoming sequel. Orlando Bloom is all in favor of getting the original Pirates of the Caribbean cast together for a 6th movie that's been long in development. Appearing at Fan Expo Chicago, Bloom rallied for the returns of Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow, Keira Knightley's Elizabeth Swann, and his own Will Turner. Everything is in writing, right? Everything is on the page, and I think I'm sure there's a way to create something, Bloom said. I would personally love to see everyone back. I think the way to win on that is to get everybody back if they can, and if everybody wanted to go back. Yeah, we know who you're talking about when you say that, but of all the 3 original characters that debuted in 2003's masterwork, I'm willing to put that moniker on it. And a headlined a trilogy that included Dead Man's Chest. It's like, yeah, there's a half of a good movie in there. The moment Davy Jones comes on screen, is like his introduction is going to live rent-free in my head forever. Do you fear death? And 2007's At World's End, yeah. Because Elizabeth Swann ends up getting her own captaincy after Chow Yun-Fat dies. God, that is such a good movie. Yay. But if you like big, dumb, stupid ship battles, like the third act it's quite visually spectacular. I can go ahead with that. But it was also at that point in time when I was just watching the screen, just, also watching my watch at the same time, going, can we just get the fuck out of here? I hate this so much. But anyways, yes, Jack Sparrow continued his adventures at 2011's On Stranger Tides, yeah, because they were trying to make Penelope Cruz the heir apparent in that fucking trash film, and Dead Men Tell No Tales. Bloom and Knightley popped up, yes, at the credit scene of the latter. Pirates movies have collectively grossed, yes, $4.5 billion. My thing is, if the script was great, and ideally it was for everybody, it'd be kind of like in for a penny, in for a pound, Bloom added. What they're thinking, how they do it, do you bring in a female leading character that replicates Jack in some way? I don't know. The jury's out on how you do it again, but if the script was great, I'd be in. Yeah, and at this point in time, Disney has seen a point of diminishing returns, even though, creatively they had experienced that for a long time when they were using subpar female replacements for some of their more iconic male brands. Yeah, I don't think they'd do that again. But then again, this is Disney we're talking about, and if they want to be exceptionally spiteful to Johnny Depp, they would plaster in a pale facsimile of Jack Sparrow colored Janet Sparrow and then just have her be an even bigger drunk and even bigger philanderer, but she would be 25 times the captain that Jack ever was. I hope that doesn't happen. I do anticipate it happening, but if I am forced to look forward to something on the horizon, well, I'll take Pirates 6. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been John Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.